5, 8, 9.
Question number 5. Then after question number 8, question number 9. Okay, 9.
15 and 19.
15 and 19. Question number 15 and 19. So these are the questions where your doubt pertains, right? Okay. Let's go to the first one, which is called as a question number 5, right? Now think of it, the question asked here, all the grist, right? All is grist that comes to my mill, smiled the unscrupulous investment banker, right? Now what do you mean by this? When we say that all that grist, it means whatever the things that come to my mill, right? Anything which is wanted or unwanted, anything which is useful, anything which is not unuseful, right? Whatever comes to my mill, right? Smiled the unscrupulous investment banker. What do you mean by the word unscrupulous? The word unscrupulous means something which is referring to the unethical, or called as somebody who is very crooked, or called as money oriented, business minded, right? So it means we are just connotating, contextually we are drawing the idea that what? Anything that comes to my mill. So who said this? The unscrupulous investment banker. Who said this? Right? So the tone, looking at the kind of a statement and the statement said by the person, we need to observe both of the things. What has been said and who said. If I talk about what has been said, it indicates that all the grist that come to my mill, anything that comes to my mill, it means I keep it, right? So that is what the thought comes to the mind. And who said this? Unscrupulous, the negative tone or the negative word, unscrupulous, right? Who said this? Investment banker, and who is tagged with the word called as unscrupulous. Now in that case, if we observe the tone of the statement, all is grist that comes to my mill, will be known as a what? What kind of a tone of the statement in quote seats? Is it a philosophic? No, it cannot be. Why? Philosophic, when you talk about philosophic, it indicates that when something which is related to the wisdom, related to the quote indicating to life, right? So, and the philosopher never makes a kind of a statement like anything that comes to my mill, I keep it, right? Or the philosopher cannot be tagged with the word called as unscrupulous, right? And here we won't find out the philosopher even, because the who said this? Smiled unscrupulous investment banker, right? So philosophic is eliminated option, so it cannot be philosophic tone. Second is called as earnest. Now when we talk about earnest, this one is called more than that. The quote is more than that. It's not about desire. It's about what? All age grist that come to my mind. Right? So it's not about the desire. Greedy. So if we talk about cruel, no fighting, no harm, nothing is given. So why do we think about cruel? So philosopher, cruel and earnest will be directly eliminated from the option.
So something like earnest.
Earnest is called as a desire, right or not? When you talk about earnest, you desire for something, right? Or you desire of doing something, isn't it? But here it is not about the desire of getting something to your meal.
But sir, it is for money oriented.
Huh, it is money oriented. Yeah, of course. But what did it say? It said that what? I'm an investment banker, right? And I have a business. So, and I do business in that business means I keep everything. I keep everything. Let's say that you are a farmer. You have a paddy field, right? That field covers with the trees. So you, when you sell your paddy field, you sell your trees as well. You sell the bushy things that present into it. It means you do not leave anything. What you will be called? You are a greedy minded person. But when you talk about earnest, earnest is known as a desire. You desire that something must be received, right? But when something is given, you keep it. But you keep the things also which are not necessary. Things which are necessary, you keep it. But things which are not necessary, that you also keep it. Right? So, I desire, so what you can say that? I desire flower, right? But when you get flower with that flower plant, you keep that all with the vessel, right? Now, what you will be considered? You will be considered acquisitive in nature. What do you mean by acquisitive in nature? Now, somebody who acquires everything, things which are necessary for him, things which are not necessary also be kept, right? Therefore, acquisitive is the most appropriate.
So, sir, in always desire means to keep the things which
Desire means what?
means to keep the things which are necessary. Here, acquisitive means to keep everything.
Everything. Because you have a kind of a mindset कि कुछ भी आ जाए मैं रख लूँ. ठीक है कि नहीं? Yes. So that's the reason we go for the acquisitive. Okay. Besides question number 5, you have another question which is called as question number 8, right?
Yes.
Now, what is the question? The question asked here the figure of speech used in the paragraph. Right. Now, when we talk about figure of speech, what is that? Now, generally we talk about that poetic devices, figure of speech used in the poem, right? But we also find out figure of speech in the, well, you can say that it's in the prose, right? What do we find out in this? We find out metaphor, simile, irony and paradox. Understood? Now, on the basis of what we can draw that the figure of the speech used in the paragraph. Now, if we read the paragraph is clearly stated. It is Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was chased out of power by the Tahrir Square demonstration in January-February 2011. So this makes us realize there are people, and based on the people's violence or people's protest, what happened? Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was out of power. Did you understand that? And when did it happen? In January-February 2011. So, now when President Hosni Mubarak was out of power by the people's demonstration or protest, a wave of hope. When you talk about a wave of hope, it means you can find out that hope is considered a wave of hope swept across the Middle East. Middle East means what? In the particular region that and around the world that finally democracy would overtake the regions. So people have thought that ये आदमी गया तो अभी हमें डेमोक्रेसी मिल जाएगा. ठीक है कि नहीं? So overtake the regions, hereafter authoritarian regions. 6 years later, 6 साल हो गए, 6 साल के बाद it is clear that hope was a false dawn. Now, what do you mean by this line? Hope was a false dawn. When you talk about that hope was a false dawn, it means you are talking about hope is compared with the dawn, early morning. Right? You feel like what? Morning occurs. You feel that what? Morning occurs. But it is not that the morning occurs. Right? So होता है ना, कभी कभी हम रात मीन्स सोचते हैं कि मॉर्निंग हो गया, उठ जाते हैं, then we realize that it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and we find out that it's not the morning, right? Now hope was considered nothing but the illusion. It is compared hope with the dawn, early means false dawn. So hence, what do you find out here? This line, which is clearly stated, a metaphor. What do you mean by metaphor? The meaning of metaphor is called as something which is directly compared. Now, what has been directly compared? You would find out that hope is compared directly with the false dawn. Did you understand that? So, instead of saying hope was illusion, right? So, or hope was delusion or illusion, or hope was false, it is written hope was a false dawn. So, from Bahrain to Syria to Yemen to Libya popular, uprising leads to harsh reprisal and escalating levels of violence that continues to this day. So, when they identified that it was nothing but a false dawn, so they continue their, protest again, and that continues up to date. So, therefore, the word metaphor justified here, isn't it? Now, why not be? Because simile is used when you use with the as or like. When your comparison is done between as or like. So, B cannot be the answer. C, irony. When you talk about irony, generally irony is known as what? When you talk about two things, right? So, when the author states something and you understand the text in your own way. Now, that's something called as irony. So, author makes a statement on his own, own ways. But you understand the text in other ways. That is known as irony. Clear? Then paradox. Paradox is a contrast. Contrast between two ideas. Isn't it? Understand the difference between irony and paradox. Irony is called as two different understanding. Paradox is two different ideas which are contrasting with each other because of one reason. Right? So, hence, if we look at the paragraph doesn't talk about what? The paragraph doesn't talk about the paradox, any contrast we don't find out.
So, not into paradox like this would happen some years hope was false dawn.
So 6 years later, it is clear that hope was a false dawn.
So, can't this be this situation with hope?
No, it will be called as a kind of a sequence of the idea. Like you start the idea, right, by saying that what something occurred to the Egyptian president. Now the next part is called as people realize that this person was removed. It means democracy would come, right? And then after 6 years, what happened? After 6 years, they found out no, democracy was still not there, right? And then after, what do you find out? They resume their protest again, isn't it? Now what do you find out? That this is a sequence. There is no contrast. Contrast comes when you use but, when you use though, when you use although, when you use yet. If there is no contrast, how would you say that it is a paradox? Clear my point? So, paradox is not there. And we don't find out two different understanding. It is a clear-cut understanding that you draw from the paragraph, that people want democracy and they find out it's nothing but an illusion. Clear my point? So, the answer should be metaphor. Clear? Question number 9. Now, what does the question ask here? The underlined part of the sentence implies. So, what does the underlined part of the sentence implies? Now, if I talk about that, what is the paragraph? The paragraph stated Kenya's Joycelyn, right? Kenya's Joycelyn Jepko Saigi broke her own 10-kilometer road. So we understand Kenya is the name of the country. So and the person then so who is nothing but a sportsman, right? So who broke her own 10-kilometer road walled record in Prague on Saturday. Did you understand that? She broke her own 10-kilometer road वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड इन प्रैग ऑन सैटरडे. ठीक है. सो एक आदमी जो अपना रिकॉर्ड लड़की सो एक लड़की जो अपना रिकॉर्ड मीन्स तोड़ दिया है. कब कहाँ पे? दैट कॉल्ड ऑन सैटरडे इन प्रैग, राइट? बिकमिंग द फर्स्ट वुमन टू रन द डिस्टेंस अंडर 30 मिनट्स ऑफ द ट्रैक. सो उसके ऊपर हाईलाइट किया गया है वो क्या किया है. How did she break the record? So it is stated that the woman who ran the distance under 30 minutes of the track, the 23-year-old ran 29 minutes 43 seconds at the Birel Prague Grand Prix to eclipse her previous record. So here the underlined part is what? Birel Prague Grand Prix to eclipse her previous record. Now, what do you mean by to eclipse her previous record? Yes. Now, please look at the choices. Please look at the choices, and you can see D में क्या दिया है कि smashed her own records, isn't it? Eclipse her own record. It means break her own record. So here it is stated smashed her own record for the 10-kilometer road run. But do you find out in A, B, C the same? No. A में दिया है so who ran 10-kilometer road under 30 minutes, but it did not say that she broke her own record. B, it is stated she set a new record for the 10-kilometer road run, but it is not said that she broke her own record and set a new record. It is not stated. C also said she created a new world record. So in that case, A, B, C are clearly indicating that what? That she created record. But D said that she broke her own record, which is nothing but the important part. And that is what we are missing in A, B, C. So D is the appropriate answer. I hope you are clear with this. Now, question number 11. What does the question number 11 stated here? It is stated the idiom at sea means. Now what do you mean by the phrase at sea? If I see that continuing on their highly forgettable journey through the Mediterranean, the Indian sailing duo of Malabar Srup and Sumit Patel remained at sea in last place after the 15th and penultimate race in the 49 mixed open double-handed dingy Olympic regatta in Athens on Thursday, isn't it? Now in that case, what do you think the idiom at sea means? और इस paragraph का मतलब क्या है? Now continuing on their highly forgettable journey through the Mediterranean, so it means they are continuing the kind of a journey. What is that journey? That called a journey. And who are they? The Indian sailing duo of Malabsrat and Sumit Patel. We were talking about these are the two swimmers. Right? So who remained at sea? So it means they were present at sea. Right? So in last place, it means what? They were present at sea in the last place after the 15th and penultimate race. After the 15th and penultimate race is called 15, 16, 17. Right or not? So that is what you can assume. क्योंकि पेनल्टीमेट का मतलब क्या है? लास्ट से पहले जो आता है. डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? सो इट मीन्स अगर वो लास्ट से पहले हैं तो इनका मतलब उनका पोजीशन 15 एंड 16 होगा. राइट? सेकंड थिंग इज कॉल्ड एज दे वर स्ट्रगलिंग. to complete the race, right? अगर वो पेनल्टीमेट कहा जाए तो इसका मतलब वो स्विम कर भी रहे हैं अभी भी. But now how do you draw that कि they were in the penultimate race? ठीक है कि नहीं? So that is what the idiom at sea here indicating what? Four of the things. To be anchored. To be anchored का मतलब होता है to be supported. They were not supported by any of the things. They were swimming. What helped them to support, or what makes them to support? So to be anchored is not there. To be stranded. So to be stranded means did they reach to the shore? No. So you can't say that to be stranded.
If stranded means we have taken a place that we cannot.
Louder.